heart disease is a major public problem. It is the #1 killer of men and women in the United States. The Cardiovascular Regenerative Medicine focus group is interested in the study of heart disease, vascular disease, and now, recently, lung disease. Every 42 seconds, someone will have a heart attack. In addition, about 600,000 Americans have MIs a year. Furthermore, about 8 million people suffer a condition called congestive heart failure. Now, that doesn't even include all of the other people who suffer problems related to arrhythmias like atrial fibrillation, as well as congenital heart disease-related problems. And so our cardiovascular regenerative medicine focus group is really looking at finding cures and treatments for those types of conditions. It's really that team approach that makes a big difference, because we cannot be experts in everything. Having the fortune of working with people with different backgrounds, all the way from the benchtop scientists who are really studying fundamental diseases to clinicians who are involved with clinical trials, who will then ultimately disseminate that technology into patients. Particular examples of really phenomenal work going on campus here includes the work by several groups here using induced pluripotent stem cells that could become potentially any cell in the body, and then using those cells in therapeutic ways for tissue engineering, for transplant, and so on. In addition, there's some really interesting work by our laboratory and others looking at cell derivatives as a way of engineering cells or coaxing the body into more its own self-repair mechanisms. Finally, there are people on campus who are studying valve conditions. Why do aortic valves, for example, as we age, why do they thicken? And in many cases, why do they narrow to the point where they need to be replaced? Our group has been involved with numerous clinical trials over the last several years that have shown very promising trends. In one particular case, we're studying the injection of cells that are arrived from the bone marrow from donors. It turns out these cells may be immunoprivileged, so no immunosuppression is needed. In the second trial, we are harvesting the bone marrow from the patient themselves and then re-injecting them back into the heart as kind of a point of care kind of treatment. We have scientists that are world-renowned who are at the forefront of their field and are really making headway in this area of regenerative medicine. I think the promise of cellular therapies is really to tackle the problem, maybe fundamentally change how we approach the treatment of these patients, so that maybe we may not have to give that many medications, or we may be able to dial back some of those therapies. And I think in the next 10 years, we're going to see some major changes in the way that cardiologists, that vascular surgeons, that pulmonologists, and others are going to be treating their patients.